Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and, well, here we are. This is the final episode. I don't know why I call it an episode, but first of all, I welcome all of you back to the tens. Now, these things are not going to be going on just yet, because there's a lot of important context and history that is going into this one, and I decided because we have actual footage of it, we may as well just talk a little bit about it first, so I can help convey to you, ladies and gentlemen, about what we're talking about. So, Empire of the Clouds is about the Hindenburg disaster. What was the Hindenburg disaster, you may ask? Well, let me demonstrate. Unfortunately, we have well, for those who don't know what the Hindenburg disaster was, well, let me demonstrate by letting somebody else do it.
The ill-fated Hindenburg on her last flight sails over New York. These pictures, made from a Pathé News plane less than 4 hours before the tragedy, show the world's largest airship heading for Lakehurst, New Jersey. Over Newark's famous auto skyway, the airship was hailed by thousands who little dreamed it was their final glimpse of the Hindenburg. Inside the silver envelope are 16 separate gas bags, each filled with hydrogen, a highly inflammable gas. From the ground, you can see the forward control cabin from which the ship is operated. The windows along the side indicate the location of the passengers' quarters, in which many were carried to a flaming death. Approaching Lakehurst, the Hindenburg appeared a conquering giant of the skies, but she proved a puny plaything in the mighty grip of fate. It almost seemed as if fate had set the stage for the horrible tragedy. A graceful craft sailing serenely to her doom. For 3 hours, the dirigible circled the landing field at Lakehurst, New Jersey, dumping more water ballast than ever before in vain efforts to level off. Again she dumps ballast, and a nervous tension grips those who are watching, for this is something unusual. There goes more ballast, but the tail is settling in spite of all that has been dumped. A grim note of impending tragedy.
Spiraling, of course.
Finally, the landing lines are dropped. These scenes were filmed by Pathé News cameraman William Deek, and you are about to see the pictures he got when the ship exploded. Those aboard leaping for life from a flaming inferno. The actual crash of the Hindenburg. An airship destroyed in less than half a minute. Rushing to the rescue, the heroes of the tragedy dash in, heedless of danger, to help the injured to safety, while others, beyond help, perish in the flames. Blazing aftermath reveals the extent of the disaster, an inferno which became a flaming tomb, a twisted mass of girders, the seared and scorched skeleton of what was once a mighty airship. Hindenburg has gone. She represented man's latest attempt to conquer the Atlantic by air. Her tragedy will not halt the march of progress. From her ashes will arise the knowledge. From her fate, the lesson that will lead to a greater and a better means of mastering the air. If so, her dead will not have died in vain.
So, now, I will say for the record, ladies and gentlemen, specifically for the record involving, well, Black Sabbath, well, Iron Maiden for this instance, is that I almost, first of all, the fact that, again, the whole tragedy happened in literally less than a minute, and the fact that, honestly, to be honest, the fact that, one, it doesn't strike me as, like, surprising that Iron Maiden would do a song in this, about the horrid disaster. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't strike me as odd. What does strike me as very, very bold for them to do is to do an 18-minute song about it. Now, usually, whenever, like, Iron Maiden wants to, they do sort of do, like, about historical events. It's sometimes a little bit at random, but sometimes they have a very specific idea in mind. Usually they are roughly about, like, 10, maybe 8 minutes is kind of like the course, but this is double this. So, now, with that being said as well, is that if you, they might talk about, like, what happened in the production of the Hindenburg, of it trying to be a glorious ascension in terms of progression and lighter than air travel before her untimely demise. So, I want to see if that's what angle they go for at this at, because 18 minutes, they may do so many different angles that towards the end, my mind will be nothing more than a twisted, spineless curdle of girders and iron. I don't know yet, but I'm sure we're going to find out together. So, here it is, ladies and gentlemen. This is the end of the Book of Souls. This is its grand closing chapter, the Empire of the Clouds.
To ride the storm to an empire aboard their silver ghost. To ride the storm to a kingdom that will come. To ride the storm and damn the rest oblivion. Royalty and dignitaries, brandy and cigars, related giant of the skies, you hold them in your arms. The millionth chance they left to take down His Majesty's craft. To India they say, magic carpet float away on October fateful day.
But
Mist is in the trees, stone sweats with the dew. The morning sunrise, red before the blue. Hanging at the mast, waiting for command. His Majesty's airship, ER 101. She's the biggest vessel built by man, a giant of the skies. For all you unbelievers, the Titanic fits inside. Drum roll tight, a canvas skin, silver in the sun. Never tested with the fury, with the beating yet to come. The fury yet to come. In the gathering gloom, the storm rising in the west. The coxswain stared into the buzzing universe. We must go now, we must take our chance with fate. We must go now, for a politician, he can be late. The airship crew awake for 30 hours at full stretch. But the ship is in their backbone, every sinew, every inch. She never flew at full speed, a trial never done. Her fragile outer cover, her Achilles would become an Achilles yet to come. Sailors of the sky, a hardened breed, loyal to the king and an airship creed. The engines drum, the telegraph sounds, release the cords that bind us to the ground. Set the coxswain, sir, she's heavy, she'll never make this flight. Said the captain, damn the cargo, we'll be on our way tonight. Groundlings cheered in wonder as she backed up from the mast, baptizing them her water from the ballast fore and aft. Now she slips into our past. Fighting the wind that's involved you. Feeling the business that finds you alone. Watching the channel below you. Lower and lower into the light. Lights are passing below you. Northern lands asleep in their beds. Storm is raging around you. I'm ready to win. That's what he said. Standing beside her, what inside, constant alone, having to make a decision. Experience fear, sleeping at night. The cover is left and she's drowning. Rain is flooding into the hole, bleeding to death and she's falling. Lifting gas is draining away.
Oh, wait, what? With downwards came the cry, bow plunging from the sky. 3,000 horses silent as the ship began to die. The flares to guide her path ignited at the last. The empire of the clouds, just ashes in our past, just ashes at the last. Here are the dreams as I stand in the
Don't.
Now a shadow on a hill, the angel of the east, the empire of the clouds may rest in peace. And in a country churchyard, laid head to the mast, 48 souls came to die in France.
And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. That was Empire of the Clouds. That was the Book of Souls. Comes to an end in France. Now, first of all, yes, before people lose their minds, yes, first of all, I am now perfectly aware that this was not about the Hindenburg disaster at all. This was actually about the R101, which I have heard about, and I do understand that, yes, it was possibly even larger, probably, than the Hindenburg, and it came crashing down on its sole maiden voyage on the 5th of October in 1930. So, even as I'm recording this, this was just over 94 years ago. God. Wow. Killing 48 of its 54 passengers. And yes, something that didn't escape my notice, ladies and gentlemen, was the fact that it feels, it's like it's almost 100% composed on piano, which is actually a pretty rare thing. You don't really get to hear many Iron Maiden songs that are even played quite like this. And I think that was down to one thing, is that it's its tragedy, and probably maybe the sort of thing that Bruce Dickinson had a special interest in, because as we know, Bruce Dickinson is a huge fan of like aircraft and and flights and stuff like that. But this one felt altogether like a little bit like almost like quite personal, because it's not really, because there are parts in this that are played with a very epic sort of ingenuity into it. Whether you're going into like the beginning of the second verse, well, I say second verse because this technically has movements in it, which is actually a fantastic way of like spacing out the tragic story of the R101. And well, just to bring up what I said about the Hindenburg disaster before, it's kind of it's kind of bizarre that you think that they even bothered to try this again anyway. But I suppose for what it's worth, and since I really don't have any idea about if there is any footage out there of the R101 crashing, I suppose it's an example right there. Why on earth anybody would want to dare trying this again anyway? And I would say the story is played relatively straight about what happened. They talk about how it was a ship built completely ahead of its time, and it also talks so much about, well, maybe was it too heavy when it was when it went on its maiden voyage, or was the was it already set in stone from the moment they said, now she slips into our past. But I suppose for the way you want to look into this, in fact, actually, this I want to hear it from somebody else for once. And but just before we do that, I will say is that there is one profound detail about Empire of the Clouds that I just cannot ignore. It's the fact that I could tell you, even without going into this, that this had Iron Maiden written all over it. Even without hearing Bruce Dickinson's iconic voice, his a very iconic West Hampstead voice, he sounded it plays with all the right notes that I've come to know from years of listening to Iron Maiden. It sounds like the sort of thing they would have done in a heartbeat. Because it's actually very, very hard. Because I don't know if it's just because Iron Maiden has like a sort of like a distinctive earworm somewhere in here. But, well, actually, to be honest, maybe it is just like that. But with that being said, let's actually hear what they had to do about this. The song was composed entirely on a piano, and due to a plethora of factors, from being too long and too complex, too slow, not rocking enough, it wasn't even considered for the Book of Souls tour. Bruce thinks it might work with a one-off performance, possibly counting with orchestra backing, along with actors and footage on screens, so you could actually really get the full sense of the tragedy and the drama that was going on behind the scenes. Wow, it's probably the first time we've ever had to actually talk about the drama and the tensions that a song caused since we did 2112, eh? Every single day we'd be in the studio blasting our stuff, and Bruce would be in the soundproof glass booth playing piano. Well, Bruce Dickinson, among many from fencing to flying, can play the piano beautifully, if you may add. Never fails to surprise me the things I learn every single day, eh? Every day's a school day and all that. Like Beethoven with his ear to the piano, concocting this masterpiece. I think he wrote every single note in it. We interpret it and we did it in sections. Kevin Shirley, our producer, and Bruce would be in the control room and say, "That's too bluesy, can you make it a bit more classical sounding?" He recorded all the piano from the start to finish, and then we played along to that. Then I think they put on an orchestra afterwards. It's a bit of a story of its own, that one, from Adrian Smith himself. You know what's actually... You know what this song is now, the more you look into it? And even somebody lays in a comment right now, at 6:57, it plays SOS in Morse code. That's exactly why I think this might legitimately be the best Iron Maiden song of them all. I think this actually beats Power Slave, Hallowed Be Thy Name, Alexander the Great, and even Rime of the Ancient Mariner. Even Blood Brothers possibly is only second to Empire of the Clouds. You want to know why? Because this song was written not as a passion project, but as a passion. I almost get the impression this song would have never seen the light of day. But I also like to imagine that if it never saw the light of day, it would have been at the forefront of Bruce Dickinson's imagination, of his dreams, his musical talent, far beyond just singing, but also in composing and playing the piano. I mean, we've heard many, many other metal bands play really out there instruments before, but this straight up is just beautiful. And for the amount of work that went into this, and the fact that I was saying for such a long time that Book of Souls is a great album, with one asterisk, that there is quite a lot of this that I do think maybe it's just because of my in-depth knowledge of Iron Maiden that I could say this part sounds like that, or this part reminds me so much of that, that there were so many things that I was making comparisons to, which isn't really fair to Iron Maiden, and certainly to this album, with the exception, however, of Empire of the Clouds, because I can't tell you, ladies and gentlemen, because I know I can't, that there has never been a song that Iron Maiden have done that is nearly as bold, as ambitious, and nearly as beautiful as Empire of the Clouds. This really is a tragedy that almost worthy of Shakespeare. And what Iron Maiden have done, they've turned it into high art. As I've said many, many times before, ladies and gentlemen, Iron Maiden for me are the poet laureates of metal. These are the people that I go to whenever I seek like an artistic expression or artistic ideas and inspiration. Because when you have just an album that has things like Speed of Light, The Red and the Black, Empire of the Clouds, Tears of a Clown, then how on earth can you go wrong? I don't think it's even possible to go wrong. It can only get better and better and better. And this is it, ladies and gentlemen. This right here, I present to you. And I apologize for getting it wrong about Hindenburg and the R101. I do apologize for that. But this, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the absolute best that Iron Maiden have ever done. Some people may disagree with me about this, but for me, this might not just be the best. This might not just be the best Iron Maiden song of all time, but it might just be the best metal song I've ever heard in my life. I actually think it's better than Disposable Heroes because one, first of all, as good as Disposable Heroes is, I also get the impression that Iron Maiden have also wrote many, many songs about war that also have the aggression, the adrenaline, the trauma, the tragedy, all combined into one. And then again, with that being said, Disposable Heroes, the more I think about it, may not actually be the best Metallica song they've ever done. One might just be the best they've ever done. But I still think that this, even Empire of the Clouds, is still better than one. But honestly, I'm just going to lay it out on the line, ladies and gentlemen, when I say this. I'm going to listen to this again immediately after this video is finished, because to the souls who died tragically on the R101, and even to the souls who died tragically at the Hindenburg disaster, to the poor souls who never lived to actually listen to Empire of the Clouds, well, just like what I mentioned with Tears of the Clown, maybe there is a heaven out there, ladies and gentlemen, and maybe when they get to heaven, they'll find God wearing an Iron Maiden shirt. Seems like a good deal to me. So with all that being said and done, I hope all of you guys enjoyed Empire of the Clouds. I apologize for my inaccuracies before, and, well, you can only get better from here, ladies and gentlemen. But it's kind of hard when we just about had the single best of all time. What do you guys think, ladies and gentlemen? Do you think Empire of the Clouds is the best Iron Maiden song of them all? We'll wait and see. So, I cannot wait to see you guys again in the next video. Take care, and bye-bye for now.